Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Jasvinder. Let me flip the camera around real quick. Hey guys, how are we doing today? It's Jasvinder. Welcome back with your daily dose of wisdom, motivation, and inspiration. And today's quote comes from one of the great books of Indian spirituality, one of the contemporary masters called, the book is called I Am That, and the quote goes something like this: "Don't pretend to be what you're not, and don't refuse to be what you are." I love this book because it's full of quotes like that. They're like these little diamonds that he gives you. So let's jump into it. Don't pretend to be what you're not. I think people have a sense of what that means, but when you put "don't refuse to be what you are" right after it, it gets a little more confusing. This is one of my favorite books of all time. That book was this man named Nisargadatta, and he had no education past the 4th grade, and he met a spiritual teacher, and within 5 years he became completely enlightened. And then people just interviewed him, came to his temple in India, they asked him questions, he would answer, they would tape record the answers, and that was this book, I Am That. The whole book is on the internet for free in PDF format. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff. It's like if Buddha was alive today. So it's great, highly recommend it. So when he says don't refuse to be what you are, let's get into it. When he says don't refuse to be what you are, we've been talking for the last several days about your identity, the body with the gateway of the senses, your consciousness, your emotions. So what does it mean to not refuse to be what you are? The best way for me to explain this, and this is a little ambitious, I feel like I'm going out on a limb here, but the easiest way for me to explain this is to take something very culturally familiar, like let's say the biblical story of creation. So I'm going to be very quick to give a disclaimer and say that this is not a religious talk. This is, as I mentioned last time, I embrace spirituality, meditation, and I embrace the teachings of all paths, all traditions. However, for today's topic, I am going to make a comparison using the biblical creation story. So most of us are familiar with this, but let's see. Bonjour, hi, welcome aboard. So nice to have you guys here. Feel free to chime in, and it'd be great to hear from you guys a little bit more than I have so far. So, as it says in this ancient story, which we're going to look at today as a metaphor and some instructions, not so much as again, not as a religious thing. So the idea that in the beginning there's nothing, there's just darkness, and this infinite creative consciousness is there in the midst of nothing at all. And then with just a thought and a command, all of existence comes into being. And in these progressive stages of creation, from light, splitting light from darkness, matter, water, day and night, all the living things in the world, this infinite consciousness looks upon this creation at each stage and says, and it was good. The light was good. The day and night was good. Yet for some reason, when the human beings are made, who are made in the image of this infinite creative consciousness, there's no, and he saw that it was good. It's not there. So what does it mean that if we're made in the image, if we're a reflection of this infinite creative power, that we're no good? I kind of wonder about that. I've wondered about that for a long time. So why were we not seen to be good, where we were the last thing that was made and everything seemed to be kind of passed on to us to take over? So what I want to tell you is that being made in the image of the infinite creative consciousness means, it doesn't mean that there's a man living in the clouds who throws lightning bolts at people, who chooses sides on religious wars, and any of that nonsense. Not to offend anybody, but it's just not what it means. It means that our true image, that we're made in the image of this infinite, limitless consciousness. It means, of course, that we are of the same nature of this universal consciousness from which all of creation has come. So we are creative beings, limitless creative beings, endowed with all the creative faculties of a sort of a divine creator, if you will. Of course, this being, this consciousness, doesn't have arms and legs and a mouth and eyes and all that kind of stuff. Those things are utilities to help a body survive in the world. An infinite creative consciousness has no need for utility and for survival mechanisms like digestive organs and respiratory organs and organs of sight and smell and taste. Of course not. So our true identity is infinite formless consciousness. And just as this consciousness brought everything into being from nothing, our responsibility is to bring our world as we see fit into being, to take a thought and say, let there be fill in the blank. Whatever the good that you desire, let there be X. And there was X. It came into being. You see? So another point here is living inductively versus living deductively. So living deductively is the way that you look around and you see who's hiring or who's single or whatever it is, and you make a choice. Now that's deductively. You're letting the world of your senses dictate the road ahead of you, and you just pick from whatever options are there. Now that's an obvious way to go. It's, again, deductive. It's perfectly logical, living from your senses, taking in data, making a choice. However, that is not your higher nature. Your higher nature would be to act as this infinite creative consciousness acts. And of course, this is conveyed to us through metaphors and analogies. And so in this ancient biblical creation story, there's nothing at all. Now imagine if the Creator had operated deductively the way we do. If this being was just like the rest of us, he would look around and see this void of darkness with nothing and go, well, I guess it's just me and these clouds of dust. That's it, right? Better make the most of it. Maybe I can twiddle my thumbs for the next 44 quadrillion years. No, this is not the way. So there's a vision, there's an idea, there is a desire, if you will, to create. And that is not deduced from what's around you, it just comes from within. So let me ask you, is what you're doing with your life right now a choice that you made from looking within yourself, conjuring a vision, and then committing your energy and your resources to making that vision a reality? Or are you just looking around at the world around you, at your choices, whatever's been afforded you by how you grew up, your level of education, your circle of friends, your network, and just picking from what's on the table? Most people are just choosing what's on this buffet table of life. They're not actually coming to the table or coming to any situation with a vision that's there a priori, beforehand, and bringing it into manifestation. When you have a vision that you come to the table with that precedes your circumstances, you look at your circumstances in a vastly different way. You look at them creatively. You're not just bartering with what's there. I'll give this much energy because this is what's available. No, you're bringing all of your energy, all of your creative power, because you have the power to create, not just to pick like someone reading a menu. Too many of us live life like someone reading a menu. So it's up to us to create a world, to create a life that we feel good about. And the way we do that, let's see here. I got this question at the bottom. Metaphorically, you and I are gods then. Yes, absolutely. We are the sole creative energy working within our lives. Or at the very least, what I could tell you with total certainty is that we are the only energy in this world that we can take any responsibility for. So your own creative power, your own intelligence, your own power is the only thing you can control. So it's the only thing that deserves your attention. It is the only thing to understand, to harness, to own. Because you do not own anything else. You don't even own this body. This body came to you somehow from forces completely beyond your control. So did your circumstances. So did everything else in your life. But the only thing that you can completely choose how to use it, for better or for worse, are the faculties of your own creative consciousness. Again, where is your attention? What is your intention? How are you using your willpower, your powers of perspective, your memory, your intuition, your imagination? How are you making use of these things? Are you using them creatively? Do you have a vision that inspires you, or are you just looking around like somebody reading a menu again and picking? So it's up to us to create our world and then stand back from it and see if it's good or see if it's not. And the other part of our responsibility to ourselves to fulfill our nature is to leave someone after us, whether it's our children or whether you look at it in business, whether it's people that you're training, your proteges, people you're mentoring. Someone has to be put in place to take it over when it's your time to go. You have to pass it on to someone else. This whole world was handed off, and then it was up to us to make it good. Just as we have to create our lives and then place them in the hands of another for them to make good of it on their own, and for them to say, am I good or am I not good? Have I done well? Have I made the right choices or not? And at the end of that, you're done. You rest. So another funny thing about this ancient creation story, it didn't say that God went back to work the following Monday. It just says that he rested on the seventh day, right? Again, not a religious talk. This is metaphorical. I can't tell you how much I want to emphasize that. It makes me very nervous to get into this religious stuff on the internet, because I can just imagine the flood of comments from all kinds of interesting characters all over the world, right, who take this stuff literally. So the idea is, get in touch with your creativity, mold your world according to your vision, and understand that you were made expressly for that purpose. You were not made to just look around and make do. This is not the way. You are made in the image of the infinite creative consciousness. Act accordingly. I hope this idea has served you. I hope you found this uplifting. Please contact me at Twitter at J_S_Khalsa, Khalsa, for more information about one-on-one coaching. And big announcement, guys, in about 2 weeks from now, so not this next Monday, but the following Monday, we're going to start broadcasting guided meditations every evening. At some point during the night, there will be a meditation. If you don't catch it when it airs, you can always replay it. So we want to get into this stuff and give you some more tools, not just to talk about concepts, but to put tools in your hands. Okay? Thank you so much, guys. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful day. I love you guys. All the best. Bye-bye.